and maybe people will join the meet or come down and join us in the. We have a newly redesigned professional development space called the Innovation Center. It's a chance for us to have some kind of flexible seating options, and a space dedicated just for professional development, where our instructional coach's office also.
Good stuff.
So just as kind of a heads up about where I am in the school. So thanks for joining both Eve and Caitlyn. Today is all about looking at a tool like EdPuzzle and incorporating the async lessons. At Blaine High School, for example, we have a new feature called Sub Center, where because we have so few subs in the building, we have very few access, very little access, I should say, to subs. We have a lot of async lessons that have been designed, and kids are going to the cafeteria with some supervision, and the auditorium when it's not when the cafeteria is not available. So today is all about looking at considering EdPuzzle as one of those options at building engaging lessons for those contexts. So I'll let the two of you experts take it away. And again, thanks so much for joining today.
Yeah. Very good. I actually had a similar situation in the school I was at last year, and EdPuzzle was a great solution for me because, like, I didn't even have a sub to like read directions to the students, so I needed to handle the whole thing from directions through to like the assignment, the like actual instruction, any practice, maybe an assessment at the end, see what we need to do for the next class. And the nice thing about it is they could put in their earbuds, listen to the video, kind of tune out from the distractions and tune into what I was teaching. And another nice thing we'll look at, you can plan a lesson to use in class and immediately switch it to asynchronous, which is like, it can be both. You don't have to design one lesson that's for in class and a separate one that's for asynchronous, which is nice if you've got students who are absent, or if you do have an unexpected absence. So you're not having to make a like regular lesson and a backup lesson each time. So I think it's pretty cool. Would you like to wait a little bit longer in case we have some folks join us? Or
nope, I think we'll just rock and roll. And I think more importantly, This will be one of those resources that we add to that playlist.
Sounds good. Okay. So just in case folks haven't used EdPuzzle before, let's talk about what EdPuzzle is. So you can start with a video, and it can be just about any video. Can be something you find on YouTube. It can be something that you recorded last year. It can be a screen recording that you record the morning of. So take just about any video. You can embed assessment questions and notes, and we'll talk a little bit about specific features of those questions, but I will say multiple choice is auto-graded. You can insert links, pictures. There's a lot you can do with it. And you've got access to progress, your students' progress. You can see at a glance who's even started watching it. You can see like how much of it they've watched so far. You can see at a glance, color-coded, very ready to use data about who did well and who you need to follow up with. It even breaks it down by question. So you can see question 1 and 2, we were golden. Question 3, I need to follow up with these 5 students because they have a misconception that we need to address. I love it. I used it in the classroom for years and years. It's a great tool. It can save you a ton of time. Just in general, like it's almost like having a co-teacher in the room. You can kind of clone yourself if you are using it in class, because kids can get instruction from you via video lesson. It's interactive. You've got that accountability, and it kind of gives you that time back for one-on-one or small group. Those things that the kids really need. And honestly, like I know I really missed last year, gives you back some time for that. So just a little bit more about it. Really neat. We can increase student engagement because it's not just a video. You're not just sending them to YouTube and hoping that they watch it. Those questions and the notes, it creates an actual active learning experience. So yeah, it's accountability, and that's great, but it's also guiding the students what they need to pay attention to, prompting them to synthesize new information. It's like pedagogically really cool. You do also increase student autonomy. I really like using it for choice boards. So in the before times, students might have a choice of doing an EdPuzzle or a math background, so maybe it's EdPuzzle, do a Desmos interactive thing, or do a small group with me if they prefer that actual like face-to-face instruction. Some kids say they can't learn from video. I think we need to teach them how to learn from video, but some students really are more comfortable with one versus the other. And some students really like the self-paced nature of learning from video. With EdPuzzle, you can set it so they can't fast forward, but they always can rewind and rewatch and pause to take notes. They really can customize and have that full autonomy. At the same time, you do hold your students accountable because you do have that data, you do have the progress tracking. You can see at a glance that this student and this student are halfway through. These students started and then stopped for some reason, so maybe we need to follow up. And other students, if they haven't started at all, again, so you know what you need to go and address. You also can use EdPuzzle to save some class time for that higher level learning. If what you normally would deliver in like direct instruction, like at the board, just telling them, if they can get that from a video, either as homework or in class, but kind of condensed, then you've got time in class for discussions or activities or collaboration, those things that are really going to promote higher level learning. And as a bonus, it does integrate with Google Classroom for both assigning and for grading. So it will automatically sync your gradebook, sync the grades to your gradebook, and you also can assign it directly to Google Classroom from edpuzzle.com. So that's a lot. I hope I've sold you on it. Let's talk about new features.
Super helpful. Super helpful so far. Thank you so much.
Kind of a rundown of all of it. If you've been using EdPuzzle, which I know that some of you have, new features. So something that a lot of teachers are really excited about. I was really excited about this because I've taught inclusion classes for the past few years, and that is audio responses. And this isn't just for students with accommodations. So with audio responses on our open-ended questions, normally they could just type. Now you can set it so they can also record a response. Some students are more comfortable with one or the other. The nice thing is kind of like, this is one of my first questions. If you turn on audio responses, students can still type a response. So if you do have a student who has dropped their device and has a busted microphone, you're not excluding them. Or if you're planning this, maybe it's going to be in class and I don't want 30 children talking at once. Or maybe it's going to be an asynchronous lesson that they're doing from home. Or maybe it's going to be an asynchronous lesson that they're doing in a room with lots of students because they have a sub. It gives you that flexibility. You don't have to design two different versions. You can use it in either situation. This is also going to be great for our students who do have accommodations, or even if they don't have an accommodation, if they do have difficulties with writing, whether they have dyslexia or dysgraphia, or our students who are English language learners. It lets you meet your kids where they're at and where they're most comfortable. I love kids engaging with the content. Writing is important and a skill we need to work on. Sometimes if we can just get the content though, that's enough. That's goal number one. The other neat thing, let's see. So this EdPuzzle Chrome extension, and I'm gonna share some resources. I'm gonna share a bunch of resources, and one will be a link to download this. So with the Chrome extension, it's free, connects to your EdPuzzle account. It kind of also helps with YouTube. It'll make a button show up on YouTube and you can import something directly to EdPuzzle. But the big feature is screen recording. Free screen recording. You don't have to download it and upload it and save it to YouTube and import it. Like, you skip all the middlemen. You just click on the extension. You can record a tab. You can record your whole desktop. You can do the picture-in-picture with your face. Kids appreciate it. And then when you're done recording, it pulls it straight into EdPuzzle, and you can do all the normal EdPuzzle editing. So if you made a mistake, you don't have to start over, just trim it out. Or if you made a mistake, don't have to start over, just record voiceover over it. Yeah, you can also add those notes and questions, and then you can assign it right from there. So this is great if you've put something together, maybe you're planning to do it in class, or maybe you were planning for it to be asynchronous. You can do instructions, because something that you normally would say in 2 minutes, hey, we're doing this and this, go ahead and start this and then do that. If you would normally have the sub say those things, well, click that button, record the directions, put it at the very beginning of the lesson for the day, and students know what they're supposed to do. And you know that they watched it. So there's that extra accountability. You can even put in a question that says, like a true or false, like I'm supposed to do such and such. Or you can do an open-ended question at any point to check in with students. Like, do you have questions? Would you like me to follow up with you? Or other reflection questions like, how are you feeling about this? Is there something that you would be sure to tell a classmate if they missed the lesson? What's something you would emphasize? You can build all of those things in. Love screen recording. Okay, and then also this one's really cool to use. This isn't an async one, this is an in-class one, but it's a new feature and I could not share it because it's pretty cool. And this came out last year, but like, I'll be honest, I didn't know about it for most of the year because there were a lot of things going on and a new EdPuzzle feature wasn't the top of my list. But now that like maybe you can catch your breath or see that this is something that can give you some time back in your class, I want to tell you about live mode. So with live mode, you take any EdPuzzle video that you've already assigned to your students. So it could be something that you planned with some flexibility. You didn't know if you'd have your kids in class or whatever it happens to be. The whole class watches the video together. So on your projector or smart panel or whatever you've got in your room, you'll play the video and it will pause like it normally would pause at questions and notes, and students will respond on their devices. And then you can show their responses, always anonymized, and have discussions. Hey, I noticed that the correct answer was B, but a lot of people chose A. Let's talk about what makes A a tricky answer. Or I noticed that we don't have a lot of responses, but it's been 30 seconds. Do we need to rewatch this section? And in that way, you can kind of model how to learn from video and teach your students those things. They know how to watch videos. They're really good at it, but they may not be good at learning from videos or watching to learn. I think that live mode, if you're able to do it with your students, is a really good way to introduce students to EdPuzzle because you can talk through and model those kind of things. And it's also kind of a nice way for you to get the hang of it and help everybody log in so everybody can get there. If you're assigning it through Google Classroom, they just have to click on the assignment and it's going to take them straight to it. Love me some live mode. So this kind of shows what it looks like from the teacher and the student perspective. The teacher launches it, student joins, it'll play on the projector, and then when it gets to a question, it'll pause and students can respond.
Okay, while you're grabbing some water, can you remind me, does that live where we assign it? When we assign an activity and we push it out to classroom, is that where live mode lives?
Yes. So
Okay.
The same way that you would go in if you had an open-ended question, same place you would go to grade those answers, there's a button right there to start live mode. And I actually
Perfect.
can pull up. Let me show you. I'm going to go to EdPuzzle. And if you aren't already using EdPuzzle, on the resource page we're going to share out, you'll find a whole like getting started, actually a video playlist, but also a step-by-step like how to sign up.
Nice.
So I'm going to go to my example class for PD and open up this video that I usually do. So this is the same place that I would go to grade any open-ended questions. There would be a button here for it. There's also this live mode button. And from there, I can go ahead and launch it and do a live mode. So it's really neat. I'd encourage you to give it a try if you have a chance. Okay, so this part walks through how to create an account. I am going to share a copy of the presentation as well. So you can, and obviously if you're watching this on video, you can pause it and do these things. I do want to stress that step number 6, which is to open your email and verify your account. Until you do that, you're going to get some trouble if you're trying to set it up with Google Classroom. You do need to make sure you go in and verify your account. Also, go ahead and use your school Google account. That way you can sync with Google Classroom. But yeah. Also, if you teach more than one grade or more than one content area, just pick one. Doesn't even have to be your favorite. You can add more later on. You do have to pick at least one, though, when you're getting signed up. Okay. Also got a section here that walks through your first video lesson, or if you've used it before, maybe your next video lesson, but maybe with some features you weren't aware of. So when it comes to finding a video, whenever you sign into EdPuzzle, it's going to drop you on this Discover page. Good thing to know is where to find your videos that you've saved or assigned. Those will all live in your My Content. Sometimes you end up with a lot and they're kind of a mess. So you can also add folders and organize those. I encourage that, especially since you can use your videos year after year. They don't go away. You've got them, they're there. So keeping it organized can be helpful if you're using them year after year, or if you teach multiple things. Also, that add content button, that's going to be where you can upload a video that you've already got. It's also going to be where you can initiate a screen recording. And then we've also got the very familiar handy dandy search bar. Up there, you can search for any topic. You also can copy and paste in the URL from a YouTube video. If you've got a YouTube video you use every year. You can also, let's see if I have it on here. There we go. Look just at things from your colleagues. So since we ask you to pick your school, this section, and it might be called My Network instead of My School. It depends if you're just connected to your school or to your whole district. You'll be able to, instead of seeing stuff from everybody in the whole wide world like you would in community, you can narrow it down to just your colleagues, which can be nice if you band together on something, or maybe you are the only teacher at your school who teaches your class. So if you're in some of the like specialized STEM classes, or if you teach an elective, but there might be other teachers in your district at other campuses that teach the same thing you do. And this can be a tool to help you with that collaboration piece. I'm a big fan of not reinventing the wheel. Okay, and then friendly reminder to add that Chrome extension to enable screen recording. Super easy, super friendly to use. Okay, so when you are creating your lessons, trim them. Please don't give your students a 40-minute video. It makes them tweet not nice things about EdPuzzle, and I'm not sure if they're actually learning anything if they're watching a 40-minute video. The research shows for secondary students, ideal length, so that you're not actually losing them, is in the range of 6 to 10 minutes. So that I know that not everything can be boiled down to 6 to 10 minutes. If you've got something that's longer than that, maybe split it into multiple videos, or at least break it up with some questions and some notes. We can't expect students, I mean, you don't in your classroom expect students to just sit and listen for 40 minutes straight. Trimming can also be great if you're taking something from YouTube and they go off topic, or just not the topic you're trying to focus on. Or if it's from another teacher and the beginning or end talks about like their assignment for the day and it's different from what you're doing. I really encourage you to trim as much as you can, so students are really just focusing on what you want them to focus on. You also can add voiceover, which, I mean, possibilities are endless. Right now, Voiceover is only available on EdPuzzle hosted videos. So videos you upload or other teachers have uploaded, when you're searching through on the Discover page, they'll say like EdPuzzle hosted. Those are ones you can do voiceover on. You also can do voiceover on your own screen recordings. YouTube came out with an update on their like copyright stuff. So right now you can't do them on YouTube videos. All right, and then questions. This is where the data comes in. This is where I don't know. I think this is really cool. This is what first got me using EdPuzzle, was the data you can get from the questions. And you really can build some really rich questions because, let's see, I'll show you. Like, where's my question slide? Is it here? Nope, I didn't put it in this one. Gosh darn it, I'll just point on the screen. You can, well, as a math person, you can put in things that look like math. Oops, sorry. You can actually insert math functions, which also relevant in science, like chemistry, or anything where you're going to have like not just plain text. Really cool though, we can insert links. So if you want students to use a reference sheet or a particular graphic organizer or an outside resource or the periodic table, ton of things you could link to. Or if you want them to go to Flipgrid and record their response to something, like the possibilities are endless. You also can insert images, and you can insert all of these things for the answer choices as well. So much you can do with this. And then all of those same things you also can do with notes. You can do your links, your images, your math. You also can record an audio note, which is great. This is kind of a workaround if you've got students who need like oral administration or need tests read to them. I use this for that quite a bit because students can do it self-paced, and they would just be able to do this, access this in class, same time as their peers, and they didn't have to like ask the teacher and have the teacher come over to read something. I really appreciated that about this. But here's just some examples of things you can use the notes feature for. I think they're kind of underused, so wanted to highlight some ideas there. Really a way to make it not just a video, because this isn't just a video with some questions in it. This isn't a whole interactive learning experience, and it can be like a really big piece of your lesson and not just a babysitting because you've got a sub thing. Like this can be actually good pedagogy. So wanted to give you some ideas. Okay, there's some more stuff in here about like connecting to Google Classroom. Since we're going to share it, I'm not going to go through all of it. So like this will be in there. You can see step by step. What I want to talk about some is the asynchronous stuff. So let me see if I've got, I need to switch over to my resource page. I do. Okay, so two things on here. One of these is a quick survey. I guess we can skip that since we don't have any live participants. But the other one are those links and resources, which we're going to share out with folks. I'm going to go ahead and open it and put it over here. Okay, so just walking you through this real quick so you know what you got here. The slide deck. Yeah, that's pretty handy. This is the slide deck that I just went through. Some ideas for how to use this with an async lesson. Let's see if I can make this full screen. Just at least do this. So kind of like I was talking about for directions, you've got that accountability piece. You can use something that already exists. There are millions of lessons that already exist. And you can use that search function to find something that's going to work for you. Or you can share with a colleague. If one of you creates a lesson, you can all use it. I had a really great team for Algebra 1 last year. And my students got to know all the Algebra 1 teachers because they saw them all at some point in an EdPuzzle. You also can use these for practice. or for assessment, because you do get some pretty good data. I've got some additional resources for you here, kind of more in depth what we've already gone through. I also want to point out the Help Center, and we've got a really great team. If you email at support@edpuzzle.com, they can help you troubleshoot if you're having tech issues with EdPuzzle. Really friendly, very knowledgeable folks.
These are awesome resources.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to give you some next steps, whether you're a beginner, a novice, you've used it before, but you're maybe not too familiar with it, intermediate, or if you are an advanced EdPuzzle user.
Those are awesome. Thank you so much. So one of the pieces that I'm going to record after this call is a little bit about how we might use EdPuzzle and other tools to help support intervention. So in addition to the EdPuzzle webinar, I wanted to integrate pieces of the async work, looking at things like agendas, and that could be in the form of a hyperlink doc, or it could be in a Google slide, like I'm going to show you a couple of examples. Both of these examples live on something called the Tech and Innovation resource page. You can find that by going to BHS Info, which is on Lock and Key. You'll click on Quick Forms and Links, and within that there's a section called Technology. Right now, Tech and Innovation page is the first link located down here, which brings you to a whole series of pages on ideas that are happening within the district and to ideas that are that have been shared already from outside the district. And one of those examples is a hybrid example for a Spanish course. So in this agenda, and this could be for one day, it could be for several days, one of the links here is to an EdPuzzle activity. So what was already shared about EdPuzzle could be integrated then as a part of this agenda. So here we have an EdPuzzle activity, which is activity number 3, where kids will click into that, and maybe there's a date listed as a part of an agenda. Same here in Culinary Arts 2, an example embedded in Google Slides, here as one of the as a part of a slide deck of a unit, for example. It looks like slide 6 here is a link, and here's a screenshot. One thing that I would highly recommend when you're creating activities like this is to have a screenshot as a part of that, to have the hyperlink inserted, and you can do that by clicking on insert after you have the text highlighted that you want to be done, giving students just a few little bits of instructions on what you're asking them to do. Because while EdPuzzle is frequently understood by many students in grades 9 through 12, you may have students who are new to country or from a district that didn't use EdPuzzle before. So some things to be thinking about when you're designing instruction. Again, EdPuzzle might be one of those pieces that you're using to create an agenda that's engaging for subcenter. It could be for the context of differentiation, so that when you're working in iTime, that you have 2 or 3 different groups of kids that are working towards mastery and proficiency, that you might then be able to kind of create these agendas that kids are digging into as they're having that second scoop of learning. Stop by the Innovation Center if you have any other questions, and thanks for tuning in today.